everyone, this is PK Entertainment and we're back again, and here now we have another video for you, and this will be a review of Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 2. Now there could be spoilers within this review for this movie and also for Part 1, so just be aware going into this overall video, and you can also check out my review of Part 1 within the channel, and I'll leave some links within the description. So in terms of this project then, we all know the story and design by now. This is the second of a 3-part animated adaptation of the famous DC comic book crossover event from 1985, created by Marv Wolfman and George Perez. Set by design to merge all of the iconic DC comic characters into one universe, it charts the story of a being known as the Monitor, who goes on to assemble the most powerful superheroes to try and combat the pending threat of an anti-matter wave which is destroying multiple Earths across different universes. Now, Part 1 began that story with multiple variants of the likes of Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern and Martian Manhunter, and the main protagonist here was likely Barry Allen's The Flash, as we saw him traversing across multiple and different realities, as well as coming together with the different stages of his life. And whilst it's not handled very well, Part 2 is probably focused on 2 main narratives, the first one being the role of Supergirl or Kara Zor-El, who is found by the Monitor on a crashed ship in space. As he takes her in, he builds a relationship with her, and Kara also becomes conflicted in the role that she has to play in trying to save the multiple universes. The other main plot strangely centres around the character of Psycho Pirate or Charles Halstead. We get to see his origin and how he gains his telepathic abilities, initially for his own evil ambitions, before also being selected to try and stop the anti-matter wave. Now, as with Part 1, we get plenty of random appearances from other DC characters, including an opening sequence featuring the whole Bat family, with of course the likes of Batman, Robin, Damian Wayne, and also Batman Beyond. Now, when reviewing Part 1, I said that it was ultimately confusing and incoherent in its attempt to tell what is already a very convoluted source material. It proved to be ultimately frustrating and very disjointed to watch. Well, that's nothing compared to Part 2 what we get here, which is even more convoluted and for the most part completely unwatchable. Whereas with Part 1 I said that hardcore fans of the source material may have enjoyed it a lot, I'd say that this time even they would struggle to find enjoyment in this Part 2 here. Literally after the first 5 minutes of this film, you're scratching your head already trying to figure out what exactly is going on. There's no attempt whatsoever to provide a recap of what's happened previously or some exposition of the current situation. It just expects you to jump straight in and follow the story, and for a story such as this, you just simply can't do that. I simply defy anybody to say that they perfectly understood all of the random subplots and cameo appearances. The story itself is so scattershot and disjointed, I was literally disengaged after the first 10 minutes, and like Part 1, proceeding to do other things whilst it was playing in the background. The only hint of any characterization comes from Supergirl, but due to the chaotic structure of the storytelling, she really just flits in and out of the story. She's not really around long enough for any sustained investment in her overall character. Now, admittedly, there was some intrigue as well as confusion in terms of the focus on Psycho Pirate's story. This is where we get the most darker elements in terms of seeing the experiences that he went through before ultimately gaining his powers. But once more, once we get to the focus on the major crisis, his constant nature and position is changing every 2 minutes. So again, you lose much investment with his character as well. And as we go to the final stages, if you weren't lost already, then I'm sure you will end up being completely dissatisfied as we get a whole host once more of mega battles and grouping of characters that don't really make any sense whatsoever. And again, they literally have 1 or 2 lines of dialogue before we move on to the next group. So once more, you're not really compelled to anything that's going on. And apart from that, I can't really say anything more here about Part 2. As with Part 1, the same issues are still here, with the very unappealing art style, the constant monologuing of each characters, the lack of characterization itself and unfocused storytelling, alternate characters popping up all over the place, and as I mentioned before, I'm just left overall indifferent and uninterested. And I also feel that even the hardcore fans of the Tomorrowverse would probably feel the same way this time. To be honest, this project has been severely underpromoted and has gained very little traction in terms of discussion and debate. And that's something that's very telling, the fact that they've dedicated 3 animated movies to the overall story. I've always felt that if you're going to try to adapt Crisis on Infinite Earths, it's probably best saved as a long-running series. And I watched this adaptation overall, and it just makes me wish that more time and resources could have been spent on something truly better. Like so much of the DC animation that we've seen, certainly over the last 10 years or so, It's such a drop in the standard compared to what we got previously before the new 52 animated universe, where we were seeing the looks of the Dark Knight Returns and the Flashpoint Paradox, and also the first Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths, which is far more focused and superior and better animated than what we got this time round. So unfortunately, this is yet another disappointing entry for DC animation, and I can't really see part 3 being any better. It will probably have more spectacle and action, but whether it will actually make sense this time round, we will have to wait and see overall. So those are my thoughts and feelings and review of Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 2. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you have any other movies, television series, or any other topics within the pop entertainment and culture scene that you'd like to see me cover, then also let me know in the comments, and I will see if I can provide further commentary for you on that subject matter within the future. Please also hit like the subscription and notification buttons so I can provide
the mighty Psycho Pirate, you've a role to play in the crisis to come.
And I will see you very, very soon.